Since 2015, Jared Stillman has rocked Nashville sports.
That team freaking stinks.
And now he's back. The takes are hotter than ever.
I mean, let's be honest, he just can't coach.
Welcome to Stillman and Company.
Stillman and Company on the 440 Sports Network, presented by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Today, we have a different kind of show. The Nashville Predators are kicking off their season, and team CEO Sean Henry and I sat down earlier today for an extended, unfiltered, everything you give a rat's ass about conversation. And so this was something I was excited about with the new medium. I was excited to try sit downs. Where I go, I sit down, we chat, we go, we hit all the topics. We can say the F word if we want, we get whatever. So we'll cover everything, including the coach. We'll cover the decision to keep the coach. We'll ask how long the coach's leash is, ownership. Bill Haslam has officially taken over, Barry Trotz, and more, and the Predators TV deal and everything else. So let me know how it goes. Again, we're trying out new tech. You know, if you're a real still Billy, be there with us. You know me. I don't do things shittily. So we're going to try to do this right. But there was, some cameras I'm probably going to be sending back to Amazon because I didn't necessarily love how they worked. So live with us through that. But Sean Henry, team CEO, will join us. But first, let me tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. That's right. They're proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, who again open their season tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Hiller has been in business since 1990. They are family owned and operated with 100% satisfaction of happy you'll be, or the service is free. If a customer is not pleased with the work performed, Hiller will make it right. Do like I do. Learn more at happyhiller.com. That's where I set my service appointments. If something's not working, I'm like, all right, let's call out Hiller, put it in there. Boom, Hiller shows up. And again, proud supporters of the Predators, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee, the Volunteers. Call the Happy Face truck today. Again, earlier today, I had the opportunity to sit down with Predators CEO Sean Henry. Our Thursday night sermon is to come. But this is that conversation ahead of the start of the Nashville Predators season. Stillman and Company on opening night at Bridgestone Arena. The Predators taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight. And we are joined by the CEO of the Nashville Predators, Sean Henry, here on the first sit-down long-form Stillman and Company. You excited about it? You nervous about it? What's your vibe on it?
I'm really excited about being the first guest on the long-form interview. Or did you mean opening day?
Well, I mean, it is opening day. What is the excitement level around here for opening day and everything else that you guys have all geared up and excited about?
Well, I'm glad we're in our offices because you'll get a chance to kind of walk around and feel it and sense it. Opening day in any sport, I think more so in Smashville and especially for hockey, it's just different. It's special. I mean, literally, people take the day off or leave work early, at least take the kids out of school early to get down here for the gold carpet walk. I asked people to share their traditions today, and it's fun watching people talk about, we get down early, we have lunch, we wander Broadway, get to the gold carpet walk. Every employee's in here, wearing a set of street clothes, and they, dress up a little bit later on because it's the first day of school. It's opening day. It's the debut. It's family reunion time, getting our season ticket holders back together again. And for about 60 or 70 employees, it's their first opening day. So I always meet with them and talk about how special it is. I remember mine as clear as yesterday. It was 1990 and the Pistons lost to the Bullets, but they raised their banners that day. It's a special day to work in sports. Special day to be a fan of sports.
Okay, so I know that everybody's excited about this season and everybody's talking about what's going to happen with this season and this team, but I do want to go back to last season because
I knew you would.
I mean, last season was what it was, but I'm sure there was an autopsy that was done because you guys spent all the money in free agency, and I don't think that you guys spent the money in free agency thinking, okay, we bought ourselves a Stanley Cup. But I do think that there was excitement for the season. There were excitement for the fans. There was excitement for the players. And then all of a sudden, the season didn't go the way you wanted it to go. So I asked this question of you, which is, when you went back and looked at what happened, you didn't fire the coach, didn't fire the general manager. What did the autopsy tell you about what happened last year? Because I could argue either side of it about, hey, that was a terrible disaster, or hey, that was a special set of circumstances that led to a tough season.
Well, fortunately, we didn't fire the CEO either. So I was really happy about that.
Were you worried about that?
No. I worry about that every day of my whole life. I have an empty box in my office since I was 15 years old. I thought that day would come. But no, last year, the goal was pretty simple, and it still is. You don't sign players for one season unless it's 1 year contract. But when you look at what we did 2 years ago, we traded away some of our fans' favorites. And the whole idea was we got to get a little bit younger. We got to stockpile some draft picks in the cupboards because we depleted those over, what 9 or 10 year run into the playoffs. And even when we did have a high pick or a first round pick, it was in, 19 to 30, if you will. So it was a hard decision to trade so many players away. And instead of that being the tough year, it was a fun year, right? We ended up winning 18 in a row or whatever it was, going to the playoffs, play a really fun first round series against Vancouver with a bunch of young guys, playing it in. So Barry's goal, our goal was pretty simple. We had to continue to make room for our young players. We didn't trade away any of our future draft picks or prospects at the trade deadline that year to move into it. The idea was let's surround those guys by proven winners, by some veterans that could help them grow, yet at the same time, add to where we're, building upon. Because the idea is, we thought we'd be back in the playoffs with those additions we made and those young guys coming along that push us into the playoffs. And it didn't work out. But when you look at what we did last year, we had on our roster 3 40-goal scorers from the year before. I don't think there was another team in the NHL that started the season that way. Maybe there was one. I don't think so, though. Went out and signed one of the biggest free agent defensemen that was out there. And the idea was, to have, 2 defensive pair featuring, 2 of the best defensemen in the league. And for whatever reason, it didn't gel. And that happens sometimes. Oh, that said, each one of those guys, when you look at their stats, and I hate looking at stats because they're somewhat hollow sometimes, you could argue had a pretty good season, but they didn't have a pretty good season together. And ideally they do this year. But again, instead of trying to hit reset again, you look at our roster, you hear opening day celebrations going on right now. It's a party out there. And that's just our staff. When you look at our roster from last season, opening day to this year, I think there are 10 new players on the team, most of them much, much younger, with the exception of bringing in Eric Halla, who everyone loves the way he plays. He'll bring an energy level to match our young players, but he also gives another stabilizing force where he's going to be paired up with a young player on his wing if he plays center. So again, you're looking at those key veterans we brought in last year. Ideally, they gel a little differently this year, but you look at the opportunities for our young guys. And a lot of times in a proven team, the young guy that should be a top 6 winger is playing on the 4th line. This year, you're going to have some young players in the top 6, including our number 1 draft pick from last year, Brady Martin, who's going to be our first line center, starting tonight, which is pretty exciting.
So I do wonder, walk me through the discussions that were had last year. And I mean this in as nice a way as possible. I know fans were talking about, fire the coach, fire the GM, and this is the NHL. And the NHL is a fire the coach kind of sport for whatever that's worth. Teams love to fire the coach, and it does work sometimes. So I'm not one to say that they shouldn't or whatever. What were the discussions that were being had here? As in the discussions that were being had by the people who actually make them?
Well, I'll probably only tell you so much, of course. But when you look at, what was going on in the organization or what wasn't going on in the organization, you look at, what should we do? What could we do? But when you reset and go back 3 years ago or whatever the timeline is, when we brought Bruno in, it was to work with young players. We pretty much told the world that we're going to have a few difficult seasons and we're going to move forward from that and grow out of those things. I think you were one of the biggest screamers on the radio. You got to tear it down. This isn't 2017 anymore. By the way,
I did say tear it down.
Well, you were always the one saying these guys think it's 2017 still. And by the way, we never did. We were proud of what we did in 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. But, there was only a handful of guys on the roster still from then. But when Bruno was brought in and the coaching staff was brought in, the challenge to our scouts, both pro and amateur, was we need to recreate the magic. We need to stockpile draft picks. Here's the profile of players we need to start bringing in. And you're not going to pick a superstar in, picks 15 through 30. We finished 3rd worst record in the league last year. Fortunately or unfortunately, we had that lottery that slid us back to 5. We ended up with a great player. But you got to go back to what our plan was when we started trading away our key veterans a few seasons ago. It was to reset and rebuild who we were. So to then say, oh my gosh, it didn't work. We didn't win the Stanley Cup. We didn't go undefeated last year. Burn it all down and replace every coach, every scout, every GM. that's a little short-sighted, and it would be very disingenuous to what we set our plan to be. And I believe in Bruno. I believe in what he's doing. I mean, look what he's doing right now. Some would say out there that we all have to jump out to a fast start. You know, if we don't, blah, 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 X, Y, or Z is going to happen.
That is how I feel, because last year was a slow start.
Well, let me finish. Last year was a very slow start. We were 0-5. That's not slow. That was disastrous. I don't care what type of team you thought you had. But when you look at what Bruno's commitment is to this organization and this team and the development of the team and getting us into a good place in March and ideally in April, he's starting an 18-year-old on the top line. That shows his commitment in doing something really special with this franchise. It also speaks volumes about Brady Martin and what he's doing and the chemistry that he's developed already, with those guys.
What's he like? Talking about Brady Martin, because I almost wonder if drafting a kid with as much hype as he had, and I mean hype is in terms of everybody was excited about the pick, and then the pick gets about the actual pick itself, not who was the player that was picked. Then everybody had their opinions on the player, and they were not all positive. And yet, a lot of times these kids, Barry Trotz said when he took the job, he's not microwaving these prospects. They have to cook in the minor leagues. The excitement for this season is not Stamkos, Marchessault, Brady Shea like it was last year. The excitement would be Brady Martin. But at the same time, there's a feeling where I'm like, he's pretty young, like to be playing right away. And so, like, as the CEO of the team, are you saying, hey, let's see the young guy? You say he's ready, let's see. Or are you like, are you sure he's ready for the big league NHL lifestyle?
Like I don't pick players. I don't set lineups. I'd like to, of course, like you, but that's not my job. That's not my role. I believe in certain hierarchies. With all that said, you ask what he's like. He's an incredibly confident young man, like you were at 18, like I was at 18. The difference between you and me and Brady Martin, he can back it up.
Sure.
And I mean, he really does have kind of a swagger, but a respectful one. I mean, hockey's a little different sport. He grew up on a farm. He's a hardworking young man. But when you see the energy he has, he's not afraid to take a risk, which most kids in that position would automatically defer to an O'Reilly or a Forsberg on their line. And I mean, he's doing some things that are so much fun, and he's going to make some mistakes. There's no doubt about that. Not so dissimilar to Cam Ward. When you put a young player in a starring role or an opportunity, you expect them to fulfill it, but you better be patient a little bit. But I would love for him to play so well that he's on this roster the entire year. But I say that for every draft pick. With all that said, I think our staff, our coaches, our scouts, our hockey operations department, ideally our fans, they're a lot more excited than just Brady Martin. I mean, we have 4 or 5 forwards that will be up and down between Milwaukee and here, and 1 or 2 will just force himself in the lineup and never leave.
Sure.
But because of our we don't have to clear waivers with so many of them, we're not going to see a 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old sitting in the press box just being scratched. He'll kind of rotate up and down and give different guys opportunities. But if you were here at the game last Saturday, we all believed in Kemmel before the hit and before the game-winning goal. Everyone believes in him a little bit more now on the fan side. I mean, it was a fun opportunity. But, you have Schaefer down there. He missed most of last season. So he'll play some games down there. He's going to be back up, and fans are going to fall in love with him as well. Evangelista just got signed. I mean, we all want to see what he could do. You got Ozzy. I mean, we have some really exciting forwards to pair up with, just like we do on the D side. So I'm excited about the fact that I think we have 11 number 1 picks in our system, 7 more on the ice in Clarksville last week. I mean, the future is really bright, for this organization. When you look at how many players we have under 23 that will all play a significant role with the Nashville Predators in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, some playing a big year this year, I'm excited about it. But no, Brady Martin's not on the roster for any hype or to fulfill any need. Anyone that does that is short-lived. Teams do it, and it's always a mistake. I forget who the pitcher was with the Rangers. Everyone uses as an example. Clyde, what's his name? Come on, you're a sports.
Clyde pitched for the Rangers?
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
He was forced into the majors at 18 years of age. He is the standard bearer of not forcing an athlete into a primetime spot. Billy Clyde, I think his name was. Come on, Jared. Well, yeah, who's the first president of the United States? That was before your time, too. But I think you know who it is. You're a sports guy, buddy.
I I have no
Anyway.
idea. Billy Clyde. I have no idea who that
Well,
is.
that's unfortunate.
He's not on the Stillman Company notepad.
We need better note writers, man. Who's your producer? We got to get working on this,
Something
Bubba.
like that. That we do need to get working
But again,
on.
there are examples throughout sports history where players are forced into a starting role when they shouldn't be.
And Cam Ward.
And I just think it's always a mistake to put someone in a role that they're not ready for. Now, you might think they're ready and you discover they're not, and then you should take appropriate action to protect their development. At the same time, there are a lot of guys that, surprise you, but there are not many 18-year-olds in our league. I mean, each and every year, you probably have 2 or 3 emerge into it, and 1 or 2 of them normally say, yeah, this is where I belong. And when you see Brady Martin play, it's fun, but he's also so responsible with it too.
So with the start of the season, again, you talk about developing young players, and when you hired Andrew Brunette, the talk was about you wanted to develop young players. At the same time, fans want to win. Team wants to win.
Mm-hmm.
Ticket sales probably go up when the team wins. TV ratings probably go up when the team wins. And the team winning is important. So how do you manage this? Hey, young players, we want to develop young players with, we know that the fans are paying full price to go to games right now, hopefully to see the team win.
Well, fans will always pay full price. The one thing that we've always been pretty proud of is we're one of the lowest average tickets in our entire league.
Sure.
Even when, we're winning President's Trophies in the Stanley Cup. With all that said, develop young players into great players while we're striving to win at the same time. Different people like words like rebuild, retool, whatever. I hate all those words because you don't have to go into a 7, 8, 10, 15-year reset. The teams that normally plan on doing that stay in a reset for 10, 15, 20 years. And that's not who we are. We never drafted high enough to do a complete reset overnight with a microwave. But the real key is you can't miss on your draft picks that you're drafting in, 10 through 20. And it's a depth league. It really is. So the past 2, drafts, we've had, I think, 11 picks last year. We traded 1, got down to 10. The year before, I think we had 9. Upcoming, I think we have 9 or 10 picks moving forward. The idea is you have to use those assets to build depth or to weaponize them and move up in the draft like we have.
The coach last year, I think we can agree, was on an incredibly long leash, given what this sport does to coaches. Is he on a short leash this year?
I don't talk about leashes. I think anything you want to say in that regard is just foolish because you end up eating your words pretty quickly. Either way, I'm a big Andrew Brunette guy, despite I lost a bet to him last night. He's a big Blue Jays fan. I'm a big Yankee fan. So when we get back from Canada, I got to take him and, gosh, I think 4 other people in our locker room to Little Hats for lunch. So I don't like him for that regard. But what I love about Andrew, he is a student of sports. He spends as much time looking at other sports, how to deploy them into our own, learning from different coaches. When Nick Saban was here back in rookie camp, watching them talk one-on-one, it was just a neat thing. But Andrew's job is pretty simple. He knows it better than anyone. It's to win and develop young players all at the same time. Now, what does that mean? What does it look like? I don't know. But even if you're losing games, how are you losing them? Mm-hmm. And, the goal this year is to win games, number one. And if we lose a game or two, how did it happen? Why did it happen? But that's what we're all getting evaluated on every single day, no matter what your job or role is in the organization.
I do wonder this question because you are Barry Trotz's boss. That there is, I'm sure, somewhere an organizational flow chart, and I'm sure the organizational flow chart says you're Barry Trotz's boss. But how do you manage the general manager of the team, knowing that a real general manager can't do the job unless he has the autonomy to make decisions for the team himself? So you talk about not picking players or setting lineups. That's not your job. But at the same time, you are managing the guy who is doing that. How do you do that? How do you fairly evaluate somebody who has a level of expertise in something that you don't have?
Well, it's like anything else. It's everyone's job to do their job. I know it sounds a little silly. I don't know if that's a Saban or a Belichick thing, but it's true.
I wouldn't be claiming Belichick stuff right now.
Well, I'm still partial to him. We won a few Super Bowls with that man. He's a great defensive coach, but I didn't like him as the Patriots guy, and that's why we used to beat him all the time as a Giant. But going back to it, I'm very fortunate. In my career, I've worked with some of the best GMs in the world. Whether I was entry-level food and beverage guy in the Pistons, watching Chuck Daly do his thing, and he was so warm with his time, and he'd let me just sit in on meetings. I still don't know why, but that's the type of guy I was. My entire career, I had an opportunity to be around, guys like that as I grew and matured, through my career. And I had a first chance to work with Barry when he was our coach. And there's not a better person on the planet. Forget about how good he was as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
He was just a good guy. And then you watch how he builds teams, consensus, how he challenges people, how he manages people. It was no brainer for us to make him our GM. And I was just really excited about it. I had a chance to work with one Hall of Fame GM in David Poyle, and now with a future Hall of Famer in Barry Trotz. And Barry and I, the funny thing is, we don't have a set meeting. We don't have one standing meeting, but we probably talk just like David and I used to, no less than 4 or 5 times a day. We have a lot of impromptu meetings. Now we do schedule, some sessions from time to time, a little bit longer, to go through where we're going, what we're doing. We have this rotating, 4 or 5 year plan that we're always looking at. But part of working with someone that's responsible for their job is having them more soundboard things and articulate things. I mean, sometimes when people speak out loud, they almost change direction as they're doing it in a good way. And then you offer some decent insights, or you hope they're decent insights. But we both have the same benefit of doing that with Bill Haslam too. I mean, Bill's very hands-off, yet he's very hands-on with direction, philosophy, goals. And guys, this is what we're striving for. Our goal is really simple. It's to be one of the elite franchises in our sport. That means on the ice, that means off the ice. And, Barry, myself, and Bill have all bought into the fact that when I entered this league, when Barry entered this league, everyone talked about the original 6. And I never got it. I really didn't. I grew up a Ranger fan, so I know who they are, by the way.
Sure.
But I thought, who cares about the original 6? I've been fortunate enough to work in 2 non-traditional markets where you had to do things differently. And by doing them differently, they became a little bit more fun. And that's why I think the fan bases in some of the non-traditional cities are a little bit more rabid than the traditional cities. Maybe a little bit smaller in nature, but those cities are growing. So the goal was, let's be one of the elite 6 or 7 teams in the league. And I think if you started highlighting who some of those teams would be, you're looking at the Floridas and the Tampas and ideally us and Vegas and Dallas, because things are changing for all of us. We have certain advantages over maybe some other cities in the north or north of the border. But that's what we're striving for. That's what we're building together. So how do you evaluate Barry? Well, it's pretty easy. Where will our draft picks, turn into in 2, 3, 4, 5 years? What's our record turning into? What are we trending towards? But also, how are we checking those boxes about becoming a little bit more elite? We just put $15 million into our locker room. That's not just paint and toilets and shower heads. It's how is our strength and conditioning coach recommending what we do, where we go, what type of equipment should we put in? How are our trainers evaluating that? How's our equipment staff evaluating what we should do? When you see people not buying in, but bringing ideas to the table that are revolutionary and not just, well, this team's doing that, we should do it. We're all copycats to a degree.
Sure.
So we do that, but it's also, is Barry cultivating the culture within our entire organization to do things better today than we did yesterday? Have that means differently. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's building the confidence of everyone that we all have to weigh in on each other's areas. We all have to have the ability to take a risk. We all know we can be wrong. And that's the important thing. If people are wrong, how do you support that? How do you correct it? How do you move forward from it? Certain organizations, when you're wrong, you're dead.
Sure.
So no one takes a risk. And, that's a safe organization. And safe is death. I mean, that's inside my Stanley Cup ring from the Tampa Bay Lightning.
So here's what I guess kind of I struggled with last year. And this really honestly pissed me off because I was on the radio and had Barry on every week. And I was not hammering Barry over the head. And the fans would come at me because they would say, okay, you're doing this because you have him on the radio once a week. And that wasn't true. And it angered me because I never thought last year that Barry should have been fired, even though I didn't enjoy the fact that by December 15th, it was pretty obvious which direction this season was going to go or last season was going to go. But I kind of listened to it when I'm like, okay, well, Barry Trotz got hired with somewhat of an admission that, hey, I know you hate saying rebuild, reset, retool, whatever the hell you want to call it. We're going to have to do some something here.
Reset. I'll accept that one, barely.
And you trade all these players away and you get all these picks and you get all these prospects and all these guys are at Milwaukee and all these guys are 20 years old. And now, okay, the team had a better year than they thought the first time, spent money in free agency, didn't trade away any draft picks, didn't put yourself, in my opinion, in any position that you couldn't get out of something. and it didn't go the way you thought. And now it's like, well, fire him because they spent all this money and it didn't work. And I'm like, right. But then what if these young guys that Barry Trotz brought in, whether it's the Schaefer kid or the Kimmel kid or Wood or Mullendijk or whomever the top pick's going to be, what if they pop? So now you fired Barry Trotz.
Not what if, when.
6 years later, they pop. You have this great team and you fired the general manager. And now the guy that found those players is working somewhere else.
Well, let me reset all of that. In the, I guess it was the 22-23 season, when we did trade away, some of our fan favorites, some of our veterans, for some picks and prospects. And at that point, Barry was just hired. He was working in partnership with David Poyle. They did it together, which I have so much admiration for David, because a lot of guys approaching their last season wouldn't want to be part of that.
Sure.
They want to do just the opposite.
I just want to make the playoffs, because if we make the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why David's a Hall of Famer. He was planting trees that others are going to sit in the shade on that he wasn't going to, but they did it together and we were the beneficiaries of it. When we did that in the 23-24 season, you thought for sure we were going to miss the playoffs. We were going to be we said it, we're going to be a young, fun team to watch. But 23-24, there was no one in the world that thought we were going to make the playoffs.
No, I didn't think you were going to win 18 in a row.
So 23-24, if we missed the playoffs that year and made them in 24-25, the whole conversation is different, right? I honestly think those years got flipped over one way or the other. But when you looked at it, we always thought there was going to be a 2 or 3 year cycle of, when's it going to click? When will it, get together? Because of what happened in 23-24, we went in to bring in just serial winners. I mean, the guys we brought in, they have their names on the Stanley Cup. They've won MVPs, scoring records, most sought after defenseman that's out there. And the goal was to have those guys in place to play really well, but also help bring those guys along. So when you do bring a Brady Martin into the lineup, you're not forcing him to play on the third or fourth line. He can play on the top line with a guy like Forsberg and O'Reilly or wherever he ends up playing with. And that's really important. With that said, again, we thought we'd be better last year. Everyone did. The good news is the experts were wrong 2 years ago. The experts were wrong last year. Knock on wood, they're wrong again this year.
I heard Barry say that. Did you guys come up with that as a group to say, hey, this is going to be our thesis statement?
So I'm going to take credit.
Did you steal that from him or did he steal it from you?
I will take credit for it, and he will take credit for it because it's a good one. And every good quote has many a father. The bad quotes, that's an orphan. They're
orphans. Yeah, I heard that from Jimmy Johnson. I don't want to hit Bill Hassel.
Wow, name dropping today. You were Jimmy Johnson. Was he on the show last week?
No, Jimmy Johnson he's retired. So I don't want to hit the Bill Haslam thing because Bill Haslam is now officially the owner, the chairman, he runs the show. Why is he not more visible given his background as the former governor of Tennessee? This is not somebody that people don't know. This is not somebody, as I drop my card, this is not somebody who, again, didn't go around kissing babies, shaking hands. He's done all of that. Why is it more of a Sean, Barry, Andrew show than it is a Bill Haslam show?
I think a lot of reasons. First and foremost, I think he's really visible. He's at most of our games. He's going on the Canadian trip as an example. He has a pretty good presence down in the locker room corridor with our players' families, with our whole staff. And he's in the office probably, twice a week. But he's also conducting a lot of other business. He's always around town. He's so hands-on and helping move Nashville forward. He's a pretty visible guy. From a philosophy standpoint, he embraces, fortunately for me and Barry, the same philosophy that we do. An owner can set tone and philosophy and provide passion and resources. And he believes in hiring, people to do their job. If we end up not doing it, maybe, he'll change that, I'm sure. But what I love about Bill is he entered this picture a few years ago as our minority owner with a plan of, growing to our majority owner and our chairman. And he was very thoughtful about it. And Bill's one of the smartest men I've ever been around. When he asks questions, he asks them because he wants to know the answers. A lot of owners, I've been around a lot of owners. I worked for what I think is the best owner in the history of sports, and Bill Davidson. And he was very hands-off. It was you hire people to do their job. And when they stop doing their job, you figure out why they did. And if you have to change them, you change them. And he was fairly successful, 3 NBA championships, a Stanley Cup, WNBA, a few IHL championships. He's a winner's winner. And that model is the one that a lot of successful teams follow. And then you have a lot of teams that have a very, very hands-on owner. And for the most part, when you have a hands-on owner making decisions, making changes, being the mouthpiece, being out in the middle of the media, you're hard-pressed to see a successful franchise. Now, someone's going to throw the Cowboys at me in the 90s. Well,
but they're not good.
And that was Jimmy Johnson's team. Jimmy Johnson framed that team. He shaped that team. I'm a Yankee fan by the grace of God, as you know. The championship Yankees of the 70s were built by Gabe Paul when George Steinbrenner was suspended. He was unsuspended in the 80s, best team in baseball, best record in baseball, no World Series wins. He got suspended again in the late 80s, early 90s. Bob Watson, Gene Michael built the team of the dynasty teams that won in the 90s through the 2000s. Got really hands-on when that suspension was over again. And I don't think we won a whole lot.
Did you give Bill that speech when he took over as owner saying, hey, Bill, I know you own the team and I technically work for you, but the best owners in sports are the ones that stay out of it?
You know what's great about Bill? You don't have to give Bill any speeches. Bill knows more about everything than I'll ever know. I mean, he's one of those guys.
Well said.
That I wake up really early. I read and I research. And I always say, like, if you don't know most things about the things you should know, that's on you. I mean, it's so easy to research today. And Bill, if you send him a document, he'll say, all right, I'll get back to you. And then he'll read it. I'll come back with a couple of questions. If we go over our budget with him, or we go over the expansion plans for the building, he's like, all right, thanks. And then he'll come back with real questions. So he's very, very hands-on. But he also sees what works in sports. I mean, I'm a sports junkie. You're a sports junkie. Bill is a bigger sports junkie than you and I combined. I mean, unfortunately, he's a Braves fan, not a Yankee fan. His dad's
starting to like this guy.
His dad's a Yankee fan, so he has at least some good genes in there. But he is, and like we always laugh, like we're all 12-year-olds in the end when it comes to our fandom. But at the same time, as a very successful two-term mayor, very successful two-term governor, a guy that seeks partnerships and alliances and compromise. I mean, look at his relationship with Governor Bredesen, one a Democrat, one a Republican. You know, their 16 years as governor, probably the best 16 years in our state's history, or at least the one I remember, because they both always sought thoughtful approaches to solutions and compromise. It wasn't about whose idea, it wasn't who's right. And he's brought that same philosophy to us. And sitting with Bill in a meeting, doesn't matter what we're talking about, whether renovating the building, doing this type of renovation, where we're doing here, what should we do with the external of the building, what should we do with our draft picks, free agency, where we're going, what we're trying to build. His approach is so good. And, you know, I'm 57 years old and I don't think you learn a whole lot of things anymore. Learn things every day when I sit in a room with him. Sitting in a room with Barry and Bill and Michelle Kennedy, it's fun. I mean, you walk out sometimes like, oh my gosh, I got to go check this, and this. I got to research this, but it's good. It's a really good dynamic. So how he chose that philosophy, I don't know. I'm glad he did, but he's deployed this now his entire career.
What was he like last year when it didn't go well?
Same as all of us. I mean, you know, each game, you know, you want to win every game. You want to win, you want to go 82-0 and then 16-0 in the playoffs, and you want to shut out every team, win 5-0 every game. And you can expect that and then die a lot. You can expect every single shift to be perfect. I mean, I used to have a guy sitting next to me. I'm friendly with him. I just saw him the other day at a fundraiser at Father Ryan, and he's a wonderful guy. But every single shift, if we didn't score 4 goals on every shift, he'd like punch me in the leg and like, oh, and get so angry. I thought, you're going to die. And, you know, we have like 19 and a half more minutes in this game. And if you respond that way in our jobs or as the owner of the team, you're going to make a lot of changes that you're probably going to regret later on. But there was a few stretches last year that we all felt the same way. And, you know, we just didn't gel at the beginning of the year, and we dug a deep, deep hole, and the hole just got a little deeper. It looked like there was a spark starting to come out of that. And then we had some injuries off, you know, in that same window. You know, so you understand it. You're still frustrated by it. And don't make any mistake about it. If we did go 81-1, we'd all spend a lot of time on that one game.
Sure. I do have just some, you know, I guess kind of big picture management questions. TV contracts in the RSN since 2020. You know, it used to be that every single person that had cable, including my 90-year-old grandmother in Florida, had access to the games. It was just a cable channel. It was 19 or 13 or whatever.
Actually, we've always been on the same exact channel, you know, for 30 years.
28?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there you go.
So always
we've always been on the same exact network, called some different things, but the landscape has changed how people connect to that. People do choose services that don't carry them. Is that FanDuel's fault? Oh, sure. A big part of it. Is it YouTube's fault? Oh yeah. Is it, pick what you want. But we are still on the same channel. So even your Meemaw knows it's on 28.
My Meemaw. So does the Prime Video element of this, the NFL's on Prime Video, the NBA is now on Prime Video. And I really haven't heard a lot of people complaining that, I can't watch Thursday Night Football because I've got Prime. Too many people have it. Has the Prime Video element solved a problem that clearly the league had? I mean, Gary Bettman was talking to me at the draft about trying to figure out ways to get the game in front of it. Has the Prime Video the ability to pay whatever it is, $19.99 a month? I think I pay more because I get the Braves and the Preds at the same time. Has that solved the problem that you guys had?
I think it's a step forward. When you look at the media landscape, it's evolving fast. It's starting to stabilize, I think, a little bit, versus, as you said, 2 or 3 years ago, it really was really chaotic. But until every fan can absorb our game in the most comfortable fashion for them, it's not solved. But I do think it's a big step, on the way there. Our league and the NBA is a little different. Major League Baseball to a lesser degree, but similar so to the NFL, where most of our 3 leagues, we control our local media. Mm-hmm. So what you have in our league, you have 32 teams with different types of contracts, NBA, 30 teams, whatever they have, MLB, same thing. We're all evolving a little bit, but one of the big things, this year, I think we announced 4 or 5 games on News Channel 5 on the big stick.
Yeah.
I give FanDuel so much credit for allowing us to do that, knowing that people are looking at games differently. 2 or 3 years ago when, I don't know, we're down to 45% or whatever it was, people in their homes were getting FanDuel on their subscriptions or their streaming service. Recognizing that means 55% of the fans out there couldn't or chose not to select a way to watch games.
Sure.
Whatever it was, they didn't. There were 12-year-olds that had no say, and they weren't watching the games. That's a bad thing. So for them opening up, ungating that through Channel 5, the Prime side of it, we're getting to a much, much better place, and that's exciting. And for me, I grew up a Ranger fan on Long Island when the Islanders were the best team in the world. Pretty dumb of me, you'd think. But the reason I was a Ranger fan, not an Islander fan, the Rangers were on free TV. We didn't have cable as kids growing up. The Islanders were on the first ever sports channel. And I got made fun of and beat up because I was a Ranger fan, not an Islander fan. But it's the same thing. There's 12-year-olds right now that in their home, they may not have it.
Right.
So we have to solve that. It's just that simple. And we're conscious of that, but things just don't flip overnight. There are some legacy contracts we all have. But I do say, and I don't mean this flippantly, and I think I said it on your show last year, someone said, well, Sean Henry said we're on the same channel we've always been on. That's not true. It is true. I also recognize it's being delivered to your home slightly different.
Sure. I mean, I kind of wonder why the sports leagues, and this is above, you, and this is at the league level, but I'm surprised that there hasn't been some sort of a government lobby to basically, if the government were to come out today and pass a bill that says local blackouts are illegal, and the government can make the law whatever they wanted to make, right?
Well, I mean, within reason.
Okay.
I mean, there is some governing bodies over our government that
if they passed a law that said,
I think you're oversimplifying. I mean, did you ever watch Schoolhouse Rock?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, though. So, like, if they pass a bill in which they say local blackouts are illegal, the president doesn't veto it, and the Supreme Court gives it the thumbs up.
But what's a local blackout? I'm just curious.
So I'm talking about somebody that wants to buy the NHL TV package, but they can't buy it locally. Like they live in Nashville. They live in Louisville, Kentucky. And I don't know if that's still technically the market or not, but when I was in Louisville, it was.
Yeah.
They buy the NHL digital package. They can't watch the games because it's blacked out locally.
And that's an league agreement with the teams. And that's what I was saying about Major League Baseball, the NBA, and the NHL versus the NFL.
So it's not a deal with the carriers.
No,
it's a deal with the teams.
It's basically the league passed the TV local rights to the teams. Mm-hmm. So then you sell your local rights to whoever it may be. In our case, FanDuel, along with another 14, 15 other NHL teams, 15 NBA teams. Major League Baseball, I think it's 12 or whatever it is. And so they have the rights to those games in that defined TV market. For us, it's a geographically pretty large market. It's Mississippi, Alabama, obviously Tennessee, most of Kentucky, just a small corner we don't control. And then we actually have the rights right into Atlanta now too, as long as there's not a team there. So that's who controls those rights. So now I have the package, like you have the package. I can watch, every other game but I'm going to my mom's this weekend. I won't be able to use my own package to watch the Islanders or Rangers or Devils because it's in that defined market.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to watch those games, I have to watch. I don't even know what she has. I'm pretty certain my mom doesn't have the Rangers package. But that's just the way it is. Can that change? Yeah. Will it change? I think there's an evolution towards that, and you're starting to see that already.
So I do wonder, and I wrote this down. What do you think the future of NHL regular season TV is?
I think the goal is pretty simple. No matter how you want to ingest it or consume it, you can. Whether it be on your phone, sitting at your son's future T-ball game, or in a library, or when you're at work, or at a sports bar, or at your house. I mean, it's how do you want to pick it up? How do you want to consume it? I do think our defined markets will probably last a while longer just because you have different lengths of contracts and how we'll try to ebb and flow out of them. Again, that's where I give FanDuel a lot of credit. As they were going through their own bankruptcy issues, they had to go to each league and get a little bit more nimble. And that's why you see some freeing up of some other opportunities. And I think the goal is simple. And technology changes, you always have some legacy, ties to that. And as those fall off, you change what you're doing.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel about like this, which is, when you're on the radio, you're just on one station, and now it's like, get it out. So if people want to watch it on YouTube, if they want to watch it on TikTok in 20-second bits, if they want to watch it on Twitter, if they want to watch it, listen to it in a podcast, they want to get it to them. Okay. The hot seat, kind of the lightning round. You ready for these?
Are you ready for those?
I promise the people.
My answers don't do well on lightning. I drag them out a little bit. I go in the storm shelter.
I put this down as the hot seat. I said,
I'm ready, Bubba.
This is going to be unfiltered. This is going to be number one. Would you trade an awful season for the number one pick if it meant that the Nashville Predators got a Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, that type of player?
I would never knowingly change that. Like, if you said today, hey, would you guys be willing to finish in last place this year if you had the number one pick and guaranteed it? I'd say no. Now, going backwards, like last year, did I wish we win the lottery? Yes. The problem, the advantage of our lottery is it does prevent tanking.
Sure.
To a degree. At the same time, do you want a number one pick? Of course. And we've never had one as a franchise. I mean, I don't know if what I'm about to say is true, but with the exception of the recent expansions, I think we're the only team that has not had a number one pick overall in the NHL. But when you look at some of the teams that have had historic number one picks over the years, look at Edmonton, from the years roughly 2000 to 2017-ish, would have had 5 number one picks, maybe 7 number one picks.
Oh, I say it was something like 4 or 5.
Yeah. And top 3, maybe 11 or so. Now, out of that 11, you get players like Draisaitl and McDavid, and go right on down Hall, and there's countless MVPs. But there are a few that you swung and missed on. You look at where the Sabres are, and they're continuing to move forward in their own way, or the Red Wings. Not that any of those teams planned on being bad, but I hear you say it all the time, oh, we should tank, you tank, blah, blah, blah. Any team that plans on tanking, I don't want to be around, period. It's just that simple. Now, if you are not having a great season and you're rewarded with the number one pick, that's great. But if you're asking me today, looking forward, absolutely not.
Number 2, are the best teams in the NHL assembled by shrewd management or by luck?
You know what? I love when people say things like, man, your career is great. You're so lucky. Well, there's a lot of work that goes into luck. I mean, normally the luckiest teams, the luckiest people on the planet are the hardest working, most diligent people, right?
Sure, but Edmonton is where Edmonton is because Connor McDavid, the ping pong balls went their way when Connor McDavid was eligible to be drafted.
When you're in the top, when you're in the lottery, sure, you have to have some luck, pop the ping pong ball. Or
Barkov, top of the lottery.
Yeah, he was not top lottery. He was
number 2.
Yeah, that's not the winner though.
No, but he takes some luck.
I do love Barkov. He's so much fun to watch play. No, it's shrewd management.
If Matthew Tkachuk says, hey, I'll re-sign in Calgary, then he's not a Florida Panther.
Right.
So there does need to be a little.
I mean, what the Panthers have built is really incredible. They combined some really well-drafted players with some really shrewd trades or strategic trades and some well-timed free agents. And that's kind of the magic, right? You have to draft well, you have to train well, you have to promote well, and at the right time, insert some players from another team via trade or via free agency to complement where that's going. It's very rare that a team will get there by drafting only. It's normally draft really well and then at the right time. And that's where the magic comes in. Is there some luck in there? I guess you could say that. But again, I think luck is complemented by strong research, strong scouting, strong strategy, and being a franchise players want to come to.
Number 3, if Gary Bettman stepped down today and named you his successor, what is the one thing about the game that you would try to change?
Well, I think that would be a wonderful role. I would take it if we could move the league office to Nashville. I live in New York. I love New York. Great place to grow up. But I think this would be a great home for the NHL. So that would be the number one thing I would change.
You say that now. I know that if you got a call from Bill Haslam who said, hey, Gary Bettman stepping down and he says he wants you to be the guy, you'd be like, I'm on the first plane. Send me on air, Bill Haslam, send me on air NHL up to New York. I'm there.
You know what? I thought you knew me well.
You got to give me something about the game you want to change.
I thought you knew me well. I would never leaving Nashville. I was just that simple. It's home. So again, the first thing I would do is I'd move the office to Nashville. It's a better place for it anyway, centrally located, better place to live. We'd all have a lot more fun. You'd have some, a lot more guitar picks in our logos. Imagine the NHL Shield as a guitar pick.
You're doing a very good job of not truly answering something about the game.
You know what I would do? I would continue a lot of things that Gary Bettman's done. And every commissioner gets beat up, right? That's everyone's job. And when I look at all the commissioners, I give Gary the most credit for always looking at the game and stewarding it instead of just saying, no, we're not changing anything. Every year, from the series of competition committees to the series of executive committees, what should we change? How is the game going? We have a board of governors meeting next week or 2 weeks from now. We spend the first, 20, 30 minutes of that meeting evaluating the game. Where are we? What's the important parts? What are the come behinds? Who are the new teams in the playoffs each year? Those are important things. And you look at our game, how it has evolved, the things that we've changed. It's impressive. And what I really appreciate about Gary and the team he's built, when things don't work out that well, we just don't cross our arms and say, nope, this was right. This is why. It's, let's change that again. Let's evolve it again. You put certain rules in, whether it be in the CBA for free agency or trades, or how you review a goal or not a goal. Our 2017 Stanley Cup, there were 2 rules changed off of that Stanley Cup. I wish it was changed 2 weeks earlier. But again, when things are amiss with the game, Gary takes action to correct it. When things are just going really well, we look at ways to continue to grow it. So I think I would just continue that. I know you're going to make fun of me.
That was an incredible answer of saying, hey,
it's true. It's true though.
Here's what I would do: the 4 Nations face off every year that there's not an Olympics, and I would move the season back. I know they want to move the season up. I'd move the season back, and I'd have the Stanley Cup final run unopposed on television.
Unopposed to what?
The NBA.
Okay, we don't control the NBA.
No, but
we don't control
July,
hot air balloon festivals.
If you move back to July,
there's
nothing in sports going on other than a Rangers White Sox game. And so now you got all the attention. You'd have PK Subban on SportsCenter every segment breaking down the Cup final. And I think that's what's
Jared,
needed.
I thought you knew me, man. I like my 4th of July. We finished training our rookie camp or prospect camp, and I get to shoot some fireworks off.
Number 4, what do the Nashville Predators not have that you would do whatever it takes to have? And you cannot answer this with a Stanley Cup as the answer.
Well, that is the answer. Is
there something building wise? Is there something?
Yeah, there's a lot of things building wise. We're about to spend $1 billion to get those things, which we're pretty proud of.
Is it going to be like a new stadium with all the money that's spent to?
No, it's going to be a completely reimagined arena with the real core elements that we all love and rely on to still be there. And I think when you have a chance to renovate a building or build a new building, I would choose the pain and extra investment of the renovation over new building every single time, because it's the place that you and your dad used to come to, that you're going to bring your son to. I mean, this building is where my son's first date with his wife is. And now, tonight he'll have his son and daughter at the game with us. To me, that's really, really cool. But it'll feel like a really fresh, modern building with all the history that we've enjoyed. So I do love that. But what will we get the franchise that we don't have? I don't know, 10 more Fortune 500 companies to help,
to move to Nashville to
help, carry the burden of your growing revenue demands that you need to keep up with everyone else, so we can continue where we are right now that we're proud of, with one of the lowest ticket prices in the league.
What do people not know about the Nashville Predators that you wish that they knew?
Well, I think most people know this, but there are still pockets of fans from other cities that come here or in my own neighborhood growing up. That it is one of the best hockey towns in our league. We have the best fans. I'm not just saying that. You say it every city you're in, but we truly do have the best fans. I mean, look at us last year. It was not a fun season, and getting there was hard, but every game was still sold out. I think no-show rate was fairly high with some season ticket holders. But I wish more people just accepted that fact. I laugh when someone says, well, they say they have the best fans, but, and we all know it's not true. The other is, I'm really proud of our place in the city. You know, we're a driving force for initiatives and good things to happen. We like dropping investments around the city to, draw economic impact around them, whether it be Bellevue or Antioch or soon to be ideally Centennial or Clarksville. I love the fact that we are, the go-to team.
What is one thing that people, the public, do not know about Sean Henry that you wish that they knew?
I'm a pretty public guy, and if I'm not, my kids are. We're
what's something about your personality or something about your interests or something?
If you don't know it, I don't want you to know it. We're pretty public people. Our kids all went to school here, thrived here, played sports here, involved in activities here. We're in a lot of organizations. I think what surprises people the most is we're not campers, I don't think. Yet every year for the past, my oldest son's 30, so for the past 30 years, we've done a pretty big RV trip, all over the country. A lot of it revolves around sports. One year we called it Halls, Falls, and Balls. We went to every Hall of Fame, bunch of baseball games, soccer games. I think we've been to every national park but 6. So I'd like to click that off.
How many national parks are there?
I almost swore. Said I was going to do it. There are a ton of them. Fortunately for Teddy Roosevelt setting that ball in motion, and not many are open right now, unfortunately. But if we have an opportunity to swing through a national park, even if it's for a minute, we do it because they're so much fun. They're treasures, but we do everything as a family. And that's the one thing that I love. We're going to Sweden in a few weeks as a team, and my 2 grandkids and 2 of my 4 children will be with us, which is exciting. When we went to Europe last time, our other 2 kids came, just other demands get in the way sometimes, but we do everything as a family and it's fun. The other is swing by my house on a Sunday. There's always Sunday dinner going on. There's always some strangers at the table. Every holiday is done at our house. And, Thanksgiving will normally have 40, 45 people there. And people from our own organization that my kids think are family. And we love that.
Last one for you on the lightning round, which was not very lightning-ish. Last one.
I told you I'm not good. I don't like the lightning anymore, man.
What is the one thing that the Predators accomplished that you did? So you can't say going to the Cup final in 17 but a decision that was made by you that you are the most proud of.
You know what? I don't know if I can find one thing that I did. I don't even like that question or that word.
I knew you'd hate it. That's why I asked it.
Because it's true. Any success that we have, and whatever it is, building the largest all-inclusive club or building 15 playgrounds around the community or having the most active foundation or pick whatever it may be. It's a series of people that buy in to the vision, the idea. Maybe some of them are my ideas, some are other people's ideas, but that's what I'm most proud of, that our good ideas. And we made a joke earlier that, have many a father, but our good ideas really have its roots in a collection of people buying into your vision. And that's magic. When you sit in a meeting and someone comes up with an idea, you don't look around the board, the table with people shaking their head no. That happens in so many places. Mm-hmm. I do have a neck brace on my back counter in my office. You can come take a picture later of it, because it used to be when I first got here, if people started shaking their head, before the idea was out of the person's mouth, they got that neck brace. You want people to, yeah, I see what you're trying to get there. The process that they want to follow and get to that goal might be flawed. The goal rarely is. So I'm proud of the fact that we all chase each other's goals.
Man, you've done a great job at some of these, I'm not saying gotcha questions, because I'm not. But I really wanted to know if there was something about the league you'd change. You're everything that needs to be changed, Gary has already done it. I would do what Gary does. Sean Henry, again, opening night is tonight. Predators and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Good luck. And the one thing I will say,
I bet it's more than one thing.
May the beginning of this season be better than the beginning of last season.
Well, I don't want to jinx us. It can't be worse. And I'm excited about tonight. I like our schedule this year. You got 2 games at home, and then you go on the road. I mean, last year we were home forever, it seemed. And, when you have a few new guys on the team, getting on the road's important. It really, really is.
Somebody brought to my attention months after the fact that they were like, because Barry was talking about, hey, you got all these people in town and you're taking care of everybody when everybody's here. And and someone's like, I cannot believe you did not rip his ass for that. And I was like, you know what? I can't believe I didn't either. That is the one where I'm like, okay. Like I look back on it, like I heard it when it happened and I was like, yeah, okay, fine, makes sense to me. I wasn't getting worked up about it. But then in hindsight, I'm like, no. You cannot say too many people are coming to the house and that's why we're not winning hockey games. But I know that really happened.
I'm not saying that. What I just said was you have 2 games at home and then you get on the road. Bonding happens on the road.
Sure.
Just that simple. We have 10 guys on the roster this year that were not on the roster last year. Many of them knew each other because they played together in Milwaukee. But those 5 road games, through Eastern Canada, it's going to be invaluable for this team. That's what I was saying. So much so that when we helped design the schedule this year, it was let's open at home and then let's get on the road. So there's thoughtful process going to almost everything.
Do you guys play a role in designing the schedule, or is it kind of like the league says, here you go?
Oh, no. What you do is, David Kells, Jeff Savetsky, Barry, and myself, roughly 2 weeks from now, we'll start designing next year's schedule. And what you do is just submit 74 dates for 41, ideally next year, 42 games. And you submit them, but you do so somewhat strategically. When do you want to be home? When do you want to be away? We have some natural holds on our calendar, like every team does.
Sure.
CMAs, SEC. But then you also want to pot it. How do you want to end at home this year, or you don't want to? And if you don't want to end at home, you ironically have some concert hold on that, weekend. Not that you manipulate it with the league, but
we have the Jared Stillman concert that night.
Yeah, exactly. We build it towards what you want, and you want to pot it. We like having Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays at home, and that's what we've been on traditionally. When you have the Olympic break, when you have certain breaks in the schedule, we all alter that a little bit to make it all fit in.
Sean, good to see you, man.
Good seeing you, man.
Good luck, man.
Look forward to seeing you tonight, and I can't wait till you bring your son to his first game.
Thank you once again to Predators CEO Sean Henry for joining us on the program. And again, as far as the video and the different shots and the switchers and things, we're going to work those tech issues out. Trust me, this is not going to be, I am not doing things second rate around here. So that was kind of the first of these, and we'll continue as we go along. And I hope you got something good out of that. Okay. The Thursday night sermon. I know it is a very popular part of our week. It starts off the football season. Every week of the football season, it starts off our week on Thursday night. So without further ado, it is time to go to church for our Thursday night sermon. I have to start on what I consider to be the story of the week in football. Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick, in my opinion, is done for at North Carolina. And I'm not even sure Bill will make it to Saturday. In fact, I want to lead this off because I don't think Bill is going to make it to Saturday. And every day there's a new story and a new breaking news update from some sort of North Carolina outlet or some sort of college football outlet, and it's all the same. Bill and Bill's cronies don't know anything about college football, and they didn't even try to learn. Shocking, I know. And that's the problem with Belichick. It's his arrogance. Bill didn't think he needed Tom Brady. Bill didn't think he needed Robert Kraft. Bill didn't think he needed an experienced college coaching staff around him. And Bill didn't think he needed a real PR director. Just his 24-year-old girlfriend with what I assume are perky tits and a firm backside. Bill didn't think he needed anybody or anything, just him. He thought, I'm going to go to college football and I'm going to dominate because I am Bill Belichick. And that to me is just pure arrogance. And everybody needs people in their lives around them to tell them things they don't want to hear. And you have to have the humility to be able to accept it. But when you surround yourself with Jordan Hudson and Mike Lombardi, they won't tell you the truth. This was never going to work. And I have to say, to the people that thought it would, shame on you. And I have to ask, why did you think that? Can I get an amen? Number 2, the biggest national story out of the Titans-Cardinals game was the viral shot of Coach Jonathan Gannon hitting, and I use that in quotation marks, Emari DeMarcado, the player who dropped the football. Let me say this. I think the league and the Cardinals handled it well by fining Gannon $100,000, so it looks like they took it seriously. And in 2025, Jonathan Gannon's got to realize, yeah, that could get you fired. But at the end of the day, to me, this was really nothing. It was fine. He didn't hit him. He gave him a get your head in the game sports tap. If he had, after that tirade for fumbling the ball, which DeMarcado deserved, if he had turned around with all his might and smacked DeMarcado on the back of the ass, everybody would have understood that's what they do in sports. Nobody would have said it's sexual assault. He was fine. DeMarcado got the message. Can I get an amen? Number 3, I watched Colin Cowherd start today because I wondered what his leadoff topic would be. I think Cowherd's got a pretty good pulse for what's going on in the country, although he talks a little too much NBA for me. And I wondered what it would be. And he started off on the Yankees losing to the Blue Jays last night and what it meant for the Yankees. And, of course, Yankees, Yankees, Yankees. And I like baseball more than most, and Lindsay is from Toronto. But I was shocked to see how forced Cowherd's Yankee topic was. It was as if he never watched a Yankee game all season until last night. He legitimately said the Yankees needed Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton to step up. Giancarlo Stanton? What is this, 2019? And the other thing is the Yankees lost for the 16th year in a row. And Yankee fans are apoplectic because they're entitled to World Series. But can somebody, Cowherd, Jeter on the broadcast, Smoltz, can somebody out there just say the Toronto Blue Jays are really freaking good? That is a good baseball team. And they've been good all year. And they were supposed to be good 2 or 3 years ago. And now they've blossomed. And Vlad Jr. looks exactly like Vlad Sr., except he's 30 pounds heavier. Let's give the Toronto Blue Jays some love, people. Can I get an amen? And speaking of the Yankees have not won a World Series since 2009. They are essentially the Dallas Cowboys of baseball. Good enough to get to the playoffs, not good enough to